The following is a CUNY TV special presentation.
It is now my pleasure to introduce our good friend, New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer. Scott has been, come on up, has been an amazing advocate for our city and has worked very closely with us here at ABNY. Scott has made significant reforms in office as a state assemblyman and then as Manhattan Borough President, and since 2013 as City Comptroller. Throughout his many years in public service, Scott has fought for transportation and infrastructure and reinvestment, championed immigration rights, and was one of the first to co-sponsor the marriage equality bill in the State Assembly. Scott, we're honored for you to be back here at ABNY and to hear your vision for a better New York and how jobs and economic activity can grow and thrive across the 5 boroughs. Ladies and gentlemen, City Comptroller Scott Stringer.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. And thank you, Bill, for that introduction. I would like to start by also acknowledging, based on protocol, my amazing wife, Elise Buxbaum, who's here. We got the kids dressed, we got them out the door, and we got here on time, so life is good. So thank you very much for being here. I also want to take a moment to thank law enforcement for their rapid response in the Chelsea explosion this past weekend. And I'd also like to commend the leadership of Police Commissioner O'Neill, who had us trying first few days, but I think did very well. Let's give law enforcement and the commissioner a big round of applause. So when you think about the last couple of days, moments like that remind us that when we are faced with a crisis, New Yorkers come together to find strength and move forward. And that's what we did after 9/11, after Hurricane Sandy, and it's what we always do to persevere. In some ways, there is no better example of that spirit than ABNY, which began in the 1970s to confront a different kind of crisis, a fiscal one. Many of us remember that time when the city was verging on the edge of bankruptcy. I was a kid growing up in Washington Heights, and I still remember the night of the 1977 blackout, looking out on a dark city, trying to get home with no light, no direction. At 17, I was thinking to myself, man, this city is out of control, out of control. But what I could not know then was that our leaders were already coming together, from business, labor, government, with Lou, Rudin, and ABNY at the forefront. They were stepping up to get our city back on track, to help build the very foundation of New York's fiscal structure. Today, we have a comprehensive budgeting process and a 4-year financial plan to ensure that we look far enough ahead to maintain a balanced budget. These reforms instilled not only a greater appreciation for New York's unwavering resilience, but also an understanding that we as a city must regularly take stock of where we are and where we need to go. Today, New York City is on solid ground, thanks in large part to the people in this room. Our economy has seen 7 straight years of growth since the Great Recession. We've added nearly 550,000 private sector jobs, and a higher percentage of our population is employed than ever before. So city revenues are up, and we're attracting more investment than almost any other city in America. One result, our technology community is booming. Tech jobs have soared 57% in New York since 2007. And financial services continue to pay more than 20% of all private sector wages. Make no mistake, A lot of people are better off because of this growth. But it's not true for all New Yorkers. Some people I talk to across the city would never know we're in a recovery. And that is something I want to talk with you about this morning. If you take our next generation, today they're facing an uphill battle. We call them the millennials. But really, these are our children. They are the sons and daughters of parents who saved and sacrificed to get them through school. And now they're coming of age in a city that pays less and costs more than it did for any of us. The reality is more than half of all the jobs we've added since 2009 are low wage. So even though they're the most educated generation we've seen, 47% of New York City's millennials wind up working in retail or fast food. The result, today's young people are actually earning 20% less than their counterparts did in 2000. For the first time in recent history, we are witnessing a new generation that is actually worse off economically than their parents were. But it's not just our young people who are getting the short end of the stick. Wages for the majority of new jobs have not kept up with inflation. In fact, our low-income New Yorkers are making no more today than they did 7 years ago. Women continue to make 81 cents for every dollar a man makes. African Americans earn 70 cents for every dollar earned by white workers. And for Latinos, that number is a dismal 72 cents. We cannot hide these inequities in the shadows of our progress. We cannot settle for a city where aspiration is limited by what you look like, how old you are, or where you come from. We must aspire to be a city where everyone has an opportunity to succeed. And understand that we will only reach our common goals when all of our people have the chance to move forward. And eventually, we have a city where everyone is doing well. This is how we grow our economy, by investing in our communities from the ground up. And we cannot wait another day to get to work. Because as strong as our recovery has been, there are signs of a slowdown on the horizon. Our job growth slowed significantly last quarter, and our personal income tax collections were down more than 5% year over year. That's why right now we have got to pick up some speed and move forward at a pace of change that matches the scale of our ambitions. No challenge is more immediate than today's affordable housing crisis. The fact is, our homeless population is hovering near record levels. 60,000 people will sleep in a shelter tonight. Almost half of them are children. Part of the reason is from 2000 to 2012, we lost more than 400,000 apartments that used to rent for under $1,000 a month. 260,000 names are on the NYCHA wait list. Every one of our communities is losing affordability right before our eyes. For the generation that made the city great, that means being priced out of the neighborhoods they helped build. For new immigrants, it means fewer footholds in the city of their dreams. And for young people, it's the difference between coming here or heading to Austin or even Pittsburgh, where you can find a cheap apartment. Seriously, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Come on. Give it up. Now, the mayor and the city council have added some tools to increase affordability. They created zoning to mandate affordable housing in certain neighborhoods and made it easier to construct senior housing across the city. But it's not enough. It's not enough to solve a challenge of this magnitude. It's just not. Our housing crisis demands more urgency and new ideas right now. And that's why I am proposing the creation of a New York City land bank. In a recent audit, my office found the city owns more than 1,100 vacant lots across 5 boroughs. Most have been vacant for decades. In fact, 744 of them have gone untouched for more than 30 years, sitting empty, attracting weeds and garbage. But here's the thing. The city of New York controls these properties, and we can start using many of them to build affordable housing right now. In fact, my office estimates that we could add up to 57,000 units of permanent low-income housing on this land. Now, a land bank has the power to acquire vacant and tax-delinquent properties. A land trust holds on to the property and can convert it into permanent, affordable housing. My proposal combines these two models and creates a more powerful tool than either one of them standing alone. The city would partner with nonprofit community-based organizations to build 100% permanent affordable housing. Since we already own the land, there are no investors to pay back, so we can use those savings to drive down rents. Attorney General Schneiderman has already helped to seed more than a dozen land banks around the state with money he's recovered from lenders involved in the housing crash. He just announced a new round of funding last month. A land bank would get New Yorkers off the waiting list, off the streets, and out of our homeless shelters. This is something we have to do. Thank you. Over the past year, I've gone with Commissioner Steve Banks to visit shelters in this city. And he always reminds me, 30% of the folks living in family shelters actually have a job. All they need to get back on their feet is access to affordable apartments, ones that will stay affordable permanently, not just for 10 or 20 years. Now, we faced this challenge before. In the 1930s, during the Great Depression, Mayor LaGuardia built the first government-funded housing project in the country. And NYCHA grew to house 400,000 New Yorkers in permanently affordable housing. Then in the 1950s, the state built the Mitchell-Lama housing to meet the needs of our growing middle class. Those developments are still a critical piece of our affordable housing landscape today. Many of our people worry if affordable housing is in their neighborhoods, will it be affordable for them? They wonder if development will bring gentrification and push them out. And that's why we have to do the real hard work of engaging community leaders in Inwood, Jerome Avenue in the Bronx, or Bay Street in Staten Island, in all of our neighborhoods to find a solution that works for everyone. Now, we faced this challenge with rezonings when I was Manhattan Borough President. 4 university expansions came through my office in 8 years, each of them challenging and contentious in their own special ways. It's not only about respecting the history and character of our neighborhoods. In order to move forward and strengthen our economy, we have to better support our 200,000 small business owners. That includes giving women and minority-owned firms more opportunities to create wealth in their communities. Namely, by helping them compete for and win city contracts. Because when we invest in our small businesses, they invest in their neighborhoods, and our entire community gets stronger. But today, the city is only spending a fraction of what it should be with these businesses. Just last year, New York City spent a total of $14 billion on goods and services, on everything from accounting firms to office supplies to major construction projects. But only 5.3% of that spending went to certified minority and women-owned businesses. And worse, less than 2% went to firms owned by African Americans and Latinos. Yet these companies could be critical wealth creators across the 5 boroughs. Take Andrew Simmons, the president of Lachey Construction, who is with us here today. I wanted Andrew to be here. For years, Andrew worked on city construction projects, but always as a subcontractor. Then he enrolled in the MTA's program for minority and women-owned businesses and gained new access to capital and mentorship throughout the contracting process. The result, in 2010, Andrew won his first prime contract. And today, his company is winning bigger and bigger contracts to repair subway stations in Brooklyn. With that investment, Andrew has grown from a small company with 5 employees to a full-time staff of more than 30. This is how lifting up a local company can strengthen an entire community. And yet the city is inching along with our MWB investment year after year. We have to do better across the board. I know this because every year I put out a report grading agencies on how well they engage minority and women-owned firms. And every year the city gets a D. It's a disgrace. The goal must increase. It must. The city needs to partner with community-based banks and insurance companies to provide more loans, surety bonds, and lines of credit to small business. For too long, minority-owned firms and other small businesses have been kept on the sideline by lenders who don't want to give them the time of day. But getting that first loan is what gets you in the game and lets them hire the staff and buy the equipment they need to compete. Second, the city agencies have to pay the bills on time. Every time. Every time. Many small businesses wait weeks or even months to get paid by the city. But there is no excuse for that delay. Today, there are multiple models out there to speed payment along. The state, for example, partners with banks to bypass bureaucracy so that small businesses get the cash flow to pay their workers, purchase equipment, or keep moving forward. And third, we need a real mentorship program, not just a pamphlet on the do's and don'ts of contracting. We've seen that. We need a comprehensive program that supports our businesses as they grow every step of the way. Our city has always made investments to help our business community get ahead, whether it was 421A or J51 for the real estate sector, or property tax exemptions for major companies that threaten to skip town. We have never done anything like this for our small businesses. Enacting this plan can be a critical investment. And if it sounds out of reach, consider this. The MTA is already using this comprehensive approach under its Chief Diversity Officer, Michael Garner, who's here with us today. Give him a round of applause because it's working. It really is working. More than 20% of the agency's massive capital plan is now flowing to minority and women business owners. And it's actually saving taxpayer dollars. And I can't believe I'm actually up here praising the MTA. But I'm going for it because the bids that they get from small businesses are often lower than what the agency budgeted. And that's good news for all of us. Give them another round of applause because they're the model. Today, in the richest city in America, 20% of our people are living below the poverty line. In some neighborhoods like Mott Haven and Hunts Point, it's more like 40%. According to a study by Columbia University and the Robin Hood Foundation, this year more than 6 in 10 households will have a hard time covering rent, coping with poor health, or putting food on the table. Think about this. That's more than 4 million New Yorkers who will go to sleep tonight hoping for some kind of miracle to stay afloat tomorrow. But right now, we have some strong tools in our arsenal to help these families. First, we've got more than 30,000 nonprofits who work every day to combat poverty. They're on the front lines, they're supporting our neighborhoods in greatest need. But the city can do more to support their work by increasing our contribution to the Earned Income Tax Credit. The EITC is the most effective anti-poverty program in America. It's a federal program that gives a refundable tax credit to low-income workers. The state matches 30% of the credit, and the city kicks in another 5%. Last year, the EITC put $2.8 billion in the pockets of almost 1 million hardworking New Yorkers and pulled 150,000 of our households out of poverty. This is real change for working people, folks. And that's why today I am calling for and working towards the city tripling, yes, triple, its contribution to the EITC. Because this program is getting results. Democrats and Republicans have agreed on that for decades. For about 1/4% of the city budget, we can provide a brighter future for 1 million children and help over 2 million New Yorkers get ahead. By tripling our input, the city could add more than $200 million directly back into the economy. And that would help all of our businesses, all of our neighborhoods, and most importantly, all of our families. We have to prepare our kids to compete in today's high-tech global economy. And that means preparing every student for college or a career. But today we have a long way to go. Take a look at our high school graduation rate. Now this year it cracked 70% for the first time. And that is a great credit to all of our exceptional teachers and principals. My mother was one of them, so I know firsthand just how hard they work for kids. But when you take a closer look at today's graduation rates, you can actually see that they are going down at more than 1/4 of all our high schools. These are schools where 4 out of 5 students are African American or Latino, and more than 70% live at near or below the poverty line. We need to build a strong computer science foundation in our classrooms. Last September, the mayor launched the Computer Science for All initiative. It's a terrific idea. But the program is not planned to reach all city students until year 2025, 10 years after it launched. Now, 10 years ago, this gadget, this iPhone, it did not exist. And 10 years from now, who knows where we'll be? We may all have the iPhone 99 that walks the kids to school in the morning, does your dishes. It may be the thing of the future. But the point is, we need to be teaching our kids now not just how to use the technology, but how to leverage it to achieve their dreams. We need to recognize computer science as a formal discipline for teachers, which, unbelievable, New York does not do today. We can do that by creating a new state computer certification or by creating an extension that allows teachers in other subjects to get trained in computer skills. 2, we need to guarantee jobs for teachers who get trained. And that's how we will advance the 4,800 teachers we need to teach computer science, 4,800. And 3, we need to work with the tech industry and philanthropy partners to develop a fellowship for our current teachers. We need a training program to provide classroom-based tech skills, plus mentorship from tech company employees. And once our teachers are through the program, we must provide continuing education on a fast-changing basis in a fast-changing field. We need to find the funding to make this happen without cutting corners from other critical courses. Because at the end of the day, if we empower and support our teachers, they're going to do the same for our kids. Here's what else I believe will prepare our students for the 21st century: more early college high schools. These are high schools often affiliated with CUNY that allow students to earn college credits. Most importantly, they set the expectation from day one that each student is going to college. And setting that expectation gets results. 88% of these students are graduating with high school degrees, with the vast majority with some college credits. Now that is a graduation rate we can be proud of, and that is a model that sets our children up for success, and that is why we need to open at least one early college in every school district in the city of New York to get more of our students on the path of success. Because they are the kids that will fill this room one day. They will be the lawyers, the artists, and the CEOs who will carry this city forward. But the reality is, we are working on an opportunity deadline. You see, if we do not combat the economic challenges plaguing our communities today, we are guaranteed to lose another generation tomorrow, to poverty, to low-wage jobs, or to more affordable cities around the world. Because make no mistake, this is a competition. Cities big and small are fighting to attract the best and the brightest. Hong Kong, Amsterdam, LA, Pittsburgh, you name it. But I'm here to tell you, the city that wins that race will be the one that grows an economy for all of its people. And us New Yorkers, we like to win. We must compete with the focus and urgency we need to make real fundamental change. Whether we move forward with an idea laid out here today or one in which we have not yet heard, we cannot assume strategies to add jobs, build affordable housing, or improve our schools will implement themselves. We need engaged leadership to get the job done, and a commitment from everyone here today to work together on the agenda at hand. Because when we all come to the same table, as we always have at ABNY, we will accomplish our goals, and every one of us will benefit. From community boards to corporate boards, we must stand together to build a vision for our city that will make New York a better home for all of us. That is how we will leave the city better than we found it. For my kids, for your kids, and for all the kids we will never know in every neighborhood of this city. Thank you for having me this morning.
Scott, thank you very much. Thank you all for coming.